What's going on, guys? I'm Tyler, and in continuing my series of Disney movie reviews, I'm here to let you know that The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad is no perfect movie. And it's an adaptation of two classic stories, The Wind in the Willows, where Mr. Toad spends all of his wealth on obsessions based on whatever is popular at the time, gets him accused of a crime he didn't commit, and The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, where schoolmaster Ichabod Crane is trying to pursue a wealthy young woman but comes across the Headless Horseman in the process. Now, just like Fun and Fancy Free, there's a recurring theme that affects the characters within both of these stories. Ichabod and Mr. Toad are two individuals whose needs are dictated by wealth. Mr. Toad's constant obsessions and manias, dictated by whatever's popular at the time, leads him to spend money he doesn't have on things that he doesn't need and in the long run isn't going to want. As opposed to Ichabod, who simply wants to marry a young woman because at the time period, marriage was often about maintaining land and wealth and maintaining family bonds. So it's a little more understandable in this story's case as to why he is kind of a sexist pig. And as you can expect from both of these stories, it's this persistence to make all of these selfish choices that obviously gets them in more trouble. But in a weird way, they both come across as very likable characters. Mr. Toad, for all the times he wastes money, has this you only live once attitude that at the very least makes you understand why the smallest things can make him curious in such a childlike wonder. And as for Ichabod, when he's pursuing this young woman and the town hero, Brom Bones, comes in to be this rival and try to intimidate him physically, Ichabod has to use his wits and be very clever in avoiding him and also trying to woo this young woman. And it leads to a lot of really good slapstick between the three of them that at the very least, you'll laugh at because Ichabod is the smarter one than Brom Bones. If I had to pick between one of the two shorts that I preferred, like most people, I prefer Sleepy Hollow because it has a bit of a distinction from other Disney short films, because both of these do have narrators. Basil Rathbone narrates Wind in the Willows, and Bing Crosby narrates Sleepy Hollow, and Crosby kind of adds this smooth charm to the narration and the characters because he also plays Ichabod and Brom Bones when they're speaking and singing. That makes you at the very least comfortable with how outdated the gender roles are in this film. And he's also responsible for two really good songs, the two most memorable songs in this entire movie, which is kind of an unfair thing to say because Wind in the Willows is not a musical driven short. But Ichabod's main theme song and the Headless Horseman song that's introduced as this ghost story, both of those songs have very nice rhythms and very upbeat music, even though they're talking about the most dire of circumstances. It was fun to watch. I was actually singing these out loud because I have heard these songs before. The thing that both of these shorts have in common is that they both have a really good climax. In Wind in the Willows, Toad and his friends have to sneak in back into his house to obtain something that proves his innocence. And it leads into a really good chase with a gang of weasels that has some fun physical slapstick where they are actually punching and hitting each other. There is some action, there's some intensity to what's going on. That was the major highlight for sure. Watching the exact movements of the characters, I realized that the Jungle Book stole a lot of the movements during the King Louie chase in the Jungle Book, which I shouldn't really be surprised from. I mean, there's a Robin Hood musical number that steals from Snow White, Aristocats, and Jungle Book, oddly enough. In any case, it still works knowing that because the characters are in a tense situation, and it's a completely different situation on its own. But as many people point out, the best part of Sleepy Hollow is its climax, when Ichabod comes face to face with the Headless Horseman. A lot of people compare it to Evil Dead 2 for kids, and you know what? It really is. The slapstick is so silly, but the stakes are legitimately serious because the Headless Horseman does come close to hitting him on screen several times throughout the short. And that's what balances it out from being scary and fun at the same time. And the music adds a lot to it too. There's a lot of high-paced and high-pitched instruments that make it intense in the long run, but the comedic pauses in the music that match the slapstick are what keep you from just thinking it's nothing but seriousness, because it's not. Not to mention, the Headless Horseman's laugh is just one of the best evil laughs ever. The only problem with Ichabod and Mr. Toad is that they each have some pacing issues where there are some scenes that could have been trimmed down or just removed entirely. And also, one thing they both have in common is that the side characters, as fun to watch as they are, they're not given a ton to do. I was kind of hoping that Mole, Rat, and even the horse Cyril in the Wind in the Willows part would have more to do with what's going on. Cyril's not even in the climax, and he has, like, some of the best lines. But as is, Ichabod and Mr. Toad is one of those compilation films that is rare in that they both have the same strengths. They each have likable characters. They each have really fun slapstick and action, and the climaxes were worth any of the shorter scenes or any of the pacing problems that each of them have. So if you do have Disney Plus, I would recommend checking out Ichabod and Mr. Toad, and I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5. Guys, thanks as always for watching. If you've seen Ichabod and Mr. Toad, be sure to let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. Be sure to stay tuned for more Disney reviews, and be sure to like and subscribe. Take care.